And we are good to go, so welcome everyone to our meeting of June the 9th, 2026. I'd like to welcome staff and members of council, and I would call Mr. Clerk to call the meeting to order, please.
Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Be it resolved that this regular meeting now open at 6 p.m.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion is carried. Is there any opening remarks from members of council? Seeing none, moving to the adoption of our agenda. Mr. Clerk.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor Shane. Be it resolved that the agenda be approved as presented.
Thank you. Any omission or changes to the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, there is no public meeting or delegation, so moving to the adoption of our minutes of our previous meetings.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham. Be it resolved that the following May 26, 2026 regular meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving to receiving of our monthly staff reports and recommendation. Mr. Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham. Be it resolved that staff department monthly information reports be received.
Thank you. So I guess I will, before we go to, I'll ask for all of them. So anybody need to bring anything up as far as staff report? There's one, and maybe every time I look, Nancy, maybe you can help me with the regards to bylaw. When it seems like we have two of them, and I'm trying to make the association, so when you see of complaints and what's closed and what's not. So I don't know if we can just maybe look at the first page where you have the occurrence type and which deals with, so maybe just summarize page 1 on the report and then moving to the second page on the report, which identifies, is it where one is monthly and the other one is yearly? And I just want to get a better understanding of what we've got opened as far as issues, I guess, versus the ones that are closed.
Oh, it depends. Some of the, through you, Mr. Mayor, one is yearly and one is monthly and the other one is year to date. So it's the same departments, Public Works and Bylaw, and we have the Building Department at the bottom. One is our monthly, the other one is year to date.
So, for example, if we say that we've got inquiries for noise, for example, we have 4 open, and if I'm not mistaken, we have, no, 15 is on the next line. So we have 5 closed. So are they just, I'm just trying to get a better understanding. So when we look at the Clean Yards bylaw is one where I do get people in the community without maybe bringing it forward to as an official complaint, but it's something that, and I always basically address it as saying, you know what, you don't have, nothing will happen if you just kind of say about it, so to move forward. So for Clean Yard, and I'm just seeing here, so it mentions we have 8, and we have 8 closed. So does that basically stand where we've dealt, everything has been taken care of, and there is
Correct.
nothing in relation to Clean Yard?
So if it's open, it's because it's still active on different stages of the active file. It could be under investigation. It can be an order has been issued. They're working on the yard, or the office will be managing it in a different way. And when they're closed, that they're completed. So the yard has been cleaned, or the issue was minor compared to, but a clean yard could be the grass wasn't cut accordingly. It varies in clean yards. It's not the same as a property standard. The clean yards could be grass, it could be garbage standing on the road. It could be various things. So some are smaller than others.
So if we're 8 and 8, 8 open and then 8 closed, does that mean as presently, if somebody was to ask, we are?
So there's 6 open currently, and we have 8 that were closed year to date. So the one form, and I'm sorry, usually it says on the form, and I must have got lost in when we try to print, but one is a monthly, so the first sheet is our monthly. So this is what happened from May 1st to May 31st. So we had 6 complaints
So
in May
that-
1st to May 31st.
So that's my question. So I
Yeah.
was on the second page because I was
Yeah.
talking about 2
Okay.
pages.
Yeah.
On the second page, it says 8 and 8. 8 open, 8 closed.
Correct.
Was that prior to this month?
It
And
would
now,
be from January 1st, 2026 to May 31st, 2026. So that's an accumulation of. So we've received in total 14. So it would be 6 are currently open and 8 were closed during the year. Or am I
does
getting
that make
back?
sense?
14 cases throughout the year.
14 reports have come in for clean yards. We currently still have 6 that are unresolved.
8 that are closed.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. No, that's good. Thank you
Okay.
very
And
much.
it's the same for every other department, sir.
So, looking at any further questions from council, seeing none, all in favor of accepting our reports, motion is carried. Moving on to item 9.2, our open air bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont receive report Fire-02-2026 from the Fire Chief regarding proposed changes to the open air burning bylaw.
Thank you. Do we want Nancy just to give us a brief, and then I'll go to questions. So Nancy, if you could just elaborate on the changes, please.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. During the year, or in the last 6 months since this bylaw was established, we've come to realize that height of the flame has become an issue, and it wasn't included in the first draft. So we've included that where we've put a certain height restriction, knowing that it might go a little over, but there's a height restriction now where should there be an overabundance of flames in certain areas, then we can have mitigating enforcement to help with that. The second one is a lot of tenanted apartments and so forth. Landlords did not want to have some of their tenants have an open air fire, recreational, and have asked if there was a form or any way that we could be informed of that information. So there wasn't, so we've added that that could be done, as well as some of the agricultural world. They do rent properties, and that'll be a prescribed form that they can have somebody sign off and say, I agree that they can burn on my property. So that'll be applicable in all areas of the bylaw.
And that would state that the landlord would be made aware prior, because they would need consent from the landlord, so it kind of opens up.
Correct.
Questions, comments?
Our thing isn't working. It keeps turning off. Sorry, we didn't catch it till after the meeting started.
Does that work? I was just gonna mention that a few landowners in Chrysler had complained about fires, you know, that it is an issue that people are watching for, and I think if we have another dry summer, people get even more concerned. So just glad that you're sort of keeping an eye on the bylaw, and it's a fine line to walk. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily want to be told how to govern themselves on their own property if they're being responsible, but I would say a 6 to 8 pallet fire if you're close to someone's house is probably something we could all agree is not appropriate. So, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Densham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question on how we're going to monitor this. I'm just thinking it through in terms of a landlord says, some landlords will permit fires, other landlords won't. How will you keep track of that? How will you know which fires to respond to, which not? Is it drive-by? And are we effectively enforcing a landlord's guidelines versus a municipal bylaw? See what I mean? It feels like the landlords are asking us to enforce what goes on their property rather than this being a municipal bylaw that we're trying to enforce.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I had that contemplation as well. It's like the animal bylaw, it's like everything else. We are regulating the number of animals. And it is a provincially, you're not allowed to stop them from having animals. We don't want to regulate what they're enforcing, but fire is a different ballgame. Some do not want them to have them. The property is too small, or is this, their reasoning is there, but I'm not allowed to issue a burning permit to anybody who doesn't own the property. I'm giving permission to burn on somebody else's property. So I would need, regardless of who it is or what it is, the permission from the landowner to burn on their property.
Okay, that clicked. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other question? So do we need, so people that do a little recreational fire need a burn permit?
It is highly recommended that they do, but no, they don't. It is a high recommendation.
So most of the time, a recreational fire is like, hey, we should have a fire. It's decided at 6 o'clock and they have their fire at 6:30. And so to determine somebody to come in for, and then that's where we would mandate, say, we need the signature of the actual owner. So that's just a part that's gonna be hard to enforce. Because I know there's the old saying about a 2x2 is for cooking your hot dog, which is a mean of. So anyway, so I think just to be advocating for but it cannot be enforced. Is that what you're saying as far as?
This is going to allow us to say that it's not allowed, and it's going to be difficult to enforce because it's still a restriction, right? They still need permission. No matter what, somebody needs a permission to burn on somebody else's property.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, and just to, again, it's a good point that you bring up, because if we then say to the tenant that people are not, the landlord says to us, people are not allowed to burn on my property, can they come back on us? Can they come back on the municipality to say, something happened on my property and one of my tenants burned, you guys should have been enforcing that because it got out of control. I'm just, again, trying to, it's an awkward situation, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not there are some potential liabilities there, especially since it's optional to have a small fire. Are we putting ourselves potentially in a situation where a landlord could come back on the municipality?
This is more like in the bigger picture, like if you had multiple units, like if you take, some people are very afraid of fire. I'm not there to enforce their regulations on the Tenant Landlord Act. That's not my job, nor do I have the authority to do so. But my job is if it's out of hand and I get called in, did they have permission to do so? If they don't have permission, that's a landlord. That's for me to call the landlord. I will always call the owner if there's an issue with the burn restriction or anything to that effect.
Okay, so then what you're basically saying is, under the circumstance where a permit is required, you will have a list of landlords who have already said no, and you will not be issuing a permit to those. But in the form of casual small fires, a tenant can potentially go ahead and we won't have any liability on it. I'm just hoping the bylaw is clear. If you see what I mean, it just feels like there may be some kind of liability we may be tagged with.
I think Aiden's, or
Through,
our clerk has
through
that.
the chair, we consulted and did some research on the bylaw. This would be on the burn permit application. Are you the owner? Yes or no? If no, please provide a letter from the owner to accompany your permit application, and then we would then assess at that point whether or not you get the burn permit. For those 2x2s, it would be a little out of scope. If you're not going to get a permit in any case, then this is for those larger, more based fires.
So if I can add, would it make sense then to a landlord that does not want to actually have an application in for a burn permit to identify, so we have it on file that there is no, and then we can mandate it. But if we don't know, how is it that we can enforce saying, oh, is that a tenant? So how are we going to go about identifying if there is no burn permit, we don't know if the landlord is actually aware or a willing.
So this is more geared towards the bigger burns than the local. I do know that some rental don't want it. It'll be up to them to monitor that.
So we're talking about the small recreational little
Okay.
fires versus the overall big picture of having somebody that leases land. I'm the owner, and then you cannot do your
My preference would be to have everybody apply for a permit. It was decided that we weren't gonna enforce that regulation for the recreational fires. It is strongly recommended they do. This is one of the reasons. There is some icks and this and that is applicable. But my preference would be to have everybody apply for a permit. Whether we charge for it or not is a different ballgame, but that would be my preference. That wasn't the case. This is what we're trying to work with, but tenanted is not just the recreational fires, but there is a lot of renters or landlords that don't want to. So whether they apply for it or not, we'll see what, there's more people applying for open air.
Did you want to, you're good with that, Sean? Any other questions? So I think let's put it to vote. I think the intent here is to, and suggestions that you just made, if we were to deal with specific to recreational fires, I don't know how we can go about saying there is no fee, but at least you're made aware. So when they come in for a permit, because over the summer, I'm going to have recreational fires, and at least you're made aware of the regulation, the rules that applies to, and you've been made aware. So that would be something that maybe further discussions or.
Just a comment. I mean, we've got somebody who is making a very good impression right now for the sake of the municipality on social media. He's doing some really good videos now, and I would suggest maybe just partnering with them on what is an acceptable fire, what are precautions you can take in terms of registering your fire, even though you don't have to, so on and so forth. I see a lot of positive response happening on Facebook right now with a lot of the communications that are going on, and I think something like that would be highly educational and probably welcomed by a number of people.
We already have discussed it, sir. There's a project on the table, so hopefully we'll have something soon for you, yes.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, no further questions. Seeing none, all in favor, motion is carried. Moving to item 9.3, so in regards to our regular council meetings, Mr. Clerk.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont receive and approve the amended schedule for the 2026 regular meeting, and approve the amended schedule for the 2026 regular council meetings.
Thank you. So that spruced up, I think our CAO brought up some of the, and it was fair point, so this is coming to council, so I'll look at discussions regarding that. So go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
I just find it awkward that we would meet on the 10th if we weren't elected. Like,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the current council's term doesn't end until November
term
14th.
doesn't end. even
Yeah,
though
so you're
the
technically
election
still
has
council.
happened.
So it's anything that needs to be cleaned up. It gives that last.
And I don't think it's in regards to specific, it's more that there is ongoing things that the public would require, whether it's in housing or development, that, hey, we need to, and it's not a thing about making the big decision, it's just making the decision, I think, that would have, and the other council members that are newly elected are still not in their seat, so I think chances are it's going to be a very light one, but at least we can still have.
If we were to have nothing pressing, would we think about not having it, just so we don't have to? Because like
yeah, that's always an opportunity
Okay.
for option for the decision making at the time.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the whole purpose of this was to continue the function of council, and in the end, if there is no business for council to attend to, then a meeting wouldn't be required.
And going from first week of October, basically taking you right up to January where that would be lean.
And the real awkward would be the day after the election. I think that would be a significantly awkward meeting.
So any other questions or discussions on those dates and the structure that we're looking, I think will meet the demands or the needs. So, good. So basically, all in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Moving to Eastview subdivision in regards to their draft plan approval extension.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dencham, seconded by Councillor Shane, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont hereby supports and recommends an extension of the draft plan approval for the Eastview subdivision, SDG file number 01-NS-S-2022, to the Director of Planning and Economic Development Services at the United Counties of SDG.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I think that's just flowing. It's common that I think SACA did the same thing with Phase 2 in Chrysler. So, yeah. So, Laura, did you want to maybe just give us, because I've got some background on, and with specific to our previous subdivision that lapsed over a check that hadn't made, and it's unfortunate because there is a lot of work. So this here is something I think that Laura can maybe just elaborate a little on.
I do have a blurb prepared, so I'll
There
read
you
it out. So the developer of the Eastview subdivision is requesting an extension of their draft plan approval. For those of you that don't know, the subject property is on the east side of Valley Street in Moose Creek. So this file received draft plan approval on July 28th, 2023, and that's set to expire this July 28th of this year. So extensions of draft plan approval are permissible under the Planning Act. This is the first draft plan extension that this developer has requested. So staff are recommending supporting the extension.
Any questions? Go ahead, Councillor McDonald.
I did privately communicate with the planner that I thought the report was very well written. But I guess I would ask, like, has there been any work at all towards progressing this development, and how many, I don't think there has been, and how many extensions would the county normally consider?
Through you. So I haven't received anything on the township side. There's been no movement towards final acceptance from the township. I can't speak towards other agencies though. And as for reissuing the extension, I'm aware in the past that some subdivisions can go on for years and years and years. That's not something that we want to see though, but I don't believe there is a limit to how many times you can extend it.
Is there an issue that's preventing them from moving forward?
Through you, not to my knowledge. The developer does have allocations, and there also are some lots that are proposed to be on private servicing. So I'm personally not sure why there's no movement.
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk, or CEO, sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have had a conversation with the developer, and he is currently in the process of securing a builder. So things are progressing for a few of the lots there. So that's at least there's some action and some anticipation. And certainly he was here and an active participant in our development charges conversation and feedback, which you received. So that's he seems to be keen to start some progress there.
Any further questions, Deputy Mayor Dencham?
Well, just more of a comment. And again, I agree. I think there's a place for an extension. But what we often find is that sometimes that creates complexities by way of allotting services, transitional things like moving into development charges and stuff like that. Just given all that we're looking at right now, it may be something we want to note down as we're looking to update our bylaws and consider development charges, whether there's something we need to do with respect to extensions and grandfathering and period of how many extensions will be grandfathered before, maybe we need to bring the person up to date with whatever the process is in terms of development charges or fees for connections, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I do believe there is a place for grandfathering because, to Laura's point, some of these things can last years, but when they start to last almost a decade, you just kind of have to say, our own rules have changed substantially, and maybe we need to treat them as much, or find a way to transition them into the current way we treat developers versus the way we treated them 10 years ago. So again, I'm not suggesting anything specific at this point, but maybe that's something, since we're looking at these right now, maybe we just want to think about what limits we may be setting on extensions, number of extensions, or what are the repercussions of numbers of extensions over time.
Just correct me if I'm wrong. So with regards to allocation and stuff, which is the municipality that would, this here is more at the county level. They're not tied as far as what we allocate so many services to one individual development versus another. So in this case, that wouldn't be tied. When you're asking for an extension, it's basically just what you've proposed in your draft plan to the counties. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so this specifically is for the extension of the draft plan approval. If there is a request for extension of allocations, that would come at a later date, I believe.
So with regards to this extension, or if you have, for example, a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, if you're in your third phase, you don't, or lapsed your extension, that's where now all of a sudden you have to resubmit. And now all has changed because now there's houses that now have been sold in phase 1 that become, and it is a big, now if you're standalone, it's not, I don't think, as bad to, and sometimes it's just the direction of the developer might be where I want to go a different route with a different density, and then maybe we'll want to not make the extension to make changes versus, so it's, anyway, it's just a good information for council to see exactly what it is in front of us versus, go ahead, Mr. CEO.
Just to follow up on what our planner indicated, there will be, or I can anticipate that there may be a request come back to council at a future date for a request to extend the allocations because they're not on the same timeline as the master plan. So that the end of the term for that will come up before the end of 2026. So we may see a request for an extension at that time.
But it's not tied to the decision that we're making here for the
No.
for the extension.
No, it isn't.
Go ahead, Councillor Shane.
So I have no problem with the extension this time, but one of my concerns would be, and I agree with Deputy Mayor Densham's comments, but down the road, should we have an active developer going in Moose Creek, and if this doesn't proceed, we're holding allotted hookups for this subdivision. And should we come into a shortage, this is where, if these extensions keep going, I think we need to have a timeline or predict kind of our active developers building if this one's still sitting there and we need those hookups. That could be an issue.
And again, I think it's in our power to determine what we do with our allocation, not in regards to this extension, which is two different things. So when it does come forward, this, I think, is more the process of never would you say to a builder, we don't want you go away. Now, we might be saying we don't have allocations for you, but it's something I think that I don't foresee any issues when you're saying, okay, well, keep it on file. It's not a big allocation of money to do this. It's just, I think, the principle and making sure that it's on the book. So with all that said, I'll look one last time at further questions. Seeing none, all in favor of the extension? Motion is carried. Moving to our 2025 audited financial statements.
Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont approves the 2025 draft financial statements as presented from the external auditors, Welch LLP, and further authorizes administration to sign and execute all necessary documents to finalize the 2025 financial statements for the Township of North Stormont.
Thank you. Any questions, Councillor McDonald?
And I've already raised this with Mr. CAO, but I think perhaps council would remember last year with the financial statements, we got a fairly significant management letter, and it was very helpful, and we had a closed session to review that because it had impacts to personnel and different things. So there was like 5-6 pages, I think, at that time. Normally, that letter is presented with financial statements in my experience, and so I was a little concerned when I hadn't seen it and we were being asked to approve this. So I just reached out to Mr. CAO, who clarified there was different reasons as to why that was not provided, but those reasons were not that there were significant issues, is my understanding. So just to raise it, that management letter is to us, so that we know if there were things that were found during the course of the audit, and those things may in fact affect our decision or willingness to approve the financial statement. I have full trust and confidence in the staff that that won't be the case, but I think the fact that we haven't even seen it was a little bit concerning for me this morning. That to say, I'm still willing to approve them, again, based on the conversation that I had with our CAO.
Did you want to add to that, Mr. CEO, or yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I did have a conversation, and I spoke to the treasurer today. The last couple of years, you have received those letters kind of immediately following, went into closed session immediately after Welch did the presentation, because the concerns that were being brought forward were significant, went into closed session because, as you said, Councillor McDonald was directly connected with internal operations and its specific staff. In this case, the letter has, there's minimal pieces being brought forward, and the auditors indicated they did not need to share that when Welch was here, and that we could bring it forward at the next council meeting. Unfortunately, we did not want to bring that forward. The treasurer will present that at the next meeting. She wasn't able to be here tonight, so we didn't want to put it on the table for this meeting, knowing that they'd asked us. So the documents that you're approving tonight are last year's. Really, the letter is what needs to change moving forward. So that's why we felt we could bring this, because it wasn't technically something that I could speak to or the treasurer, because it's the audited reports. And that's why we felt comfortable putting this on the table tonight, and then holding the letter that will need to be spoken to by the treasurer in closed session at the next meeting that she will be present at. So that was the explanation, or that's the rationale. So we did review it, and there was nothing of substantial in that letter that we felt required your vision before you took the steps to approve this.
Did that answer your question, Councillor McDonald? Did you? We'll see.
I think Mr. CAO understood that that would not be a good process moving forward. But again, I have trust in the staff that will be the case when we receive this letter. And I would also trust that for future councils that not be the process, so that people are fully informed. But in this case, I would still be willing to support this today. So not totally satisfied, but satisfied.
I'm just supporting your thoughts there. I think, again, trusting our CAO and staff recommendation, I as well will submit this, but I agree with you. It's not really the process. I'd like to see a process whereby either the night of when the audit and financial statements gets presented, we could go into closed immediately thereafter, or the next meeting, perhaps hold a close before so that we can approve it on the next meeting. But yeah, I agree. The process probably should be more reflective of us having all of the information before making the final decision as a council.
No other questions? So with that said, I'll put it to vote. All in favor? The motion is carried. Moving on to our municipal bylaw, item 10.1 in regards to bylaw number 36-2026 for fire protection open air burning bylaw.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dencham, seconded by Councillor Shane, that the Council of the Township of North Stormont approve bylaw number 36-2026, being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw number 52-2025 for regulating the setting of open air fires and to institute the precautions to be taken with open air fires, including the times during which open air fires may be set.
Thank you. Any last questions for our fire chief Gauthier? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Moving to our correspondence, please.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dencham. Be it resolved that the correspondence as listed as items 11.2 to 11.10 on the agenda be received.
Thank you. Any brought up, starting with Deputy Mayor Dencham and then Councillor McDonald. Sorry.
I see the one item from North Glengarry here, called a return to the property tax reassessment cycle. I think we need to start making noise about the fact that we're so off a cycle now. I have no idea how fairly we're treating residents across our municipality relative to each other. I think I'd like to see for our next meeting a letter of support as well. Whether or not they can even return to the traditional or whether they have to come up with some other new solution, I don't know. But right now, how many years are we?
2016,
10 years?
so we're 10, yeah.
We're 10-year, our 10-year anniversary. I think that deserves a resolution, so I'd like to see that for our next meeting if we could, please.
I'm not sure if it's on a different subject. So just to say, so I think I mentioned at the last meeting, so the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus has that exact motion on the table, which is going to be basically being pushed on all 103 municipalities across the caucus. So it is something that we're not just standalone. The request is that we need to see something move, and so I fully support if that can be noted on the minutes to bring that back. Councillor McDonald.
I just wanted to raise in the Reason Region memo that was number 1 on the list. Amazing. There's also a consolidation update included there, and I know South Nation has also circulated recently a consolidation update from their board of directors, and we have chosen membership for from SDNG to represent the county on the transition committee for conservation authorities. So that's Andrew Gaindo, and some councils have asked for presentations on this, so it's available if you need additional information, but there are memos and things being circulated by both CAs to try to keep our partners in the loop. So I'm just taking my council hat off for a second there to say, if you have any questions, I said I don't think this council needs a presentation given we have 3 members affiliated. But there is lots going on, so if you ever have questions, we're happy to provide updates. Thanks.
And who is leading to get those updates? As far as like where you're hearing it from different, so is there a source for our administration just to see?
There was a municipal session last week, which we had fire safety training, I think, going on that day here. I heard it wasn't fantastic from some other folks who went. So there is a Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency providing updates out to municipalities and CAs. But the biggest thing is getting this membership on these transition committees. And then I think at the county, will have Andrew Gaynor reporting back, giving you updates as they go through that process. So it's still very unclear.
Because for each member of council, I find we do get a lot of correspondence.
Yeah.
Comes through and you're trying to make sense. So I think the best avenue would be administration. So so that's where the focus I think should be, so that the council of the day is getting the proper information coming back. So not every council has the chair or the past and then the member of different conservation authorities. Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, and through you, Mr. Mayor, I do apologize. As I explained to Councillor McDonald, I had it as a tentative in my calendar. I was covering the front and got tied up in the work I was doing up there, covering the front while the rest of the staff were doing fire extinguisher training. So I did go back and review my experience so far with those, whether it's the IESO around hydro. It's really a watered down, here's a whole bunch of people talking about a whole bunch of things, but the engagement isn't there. But I will stay on top of those. And I guess I'd ask, how do you want me to continue to funnel that information to you? Or is there a preferred alternative method to sending every time the Raisin River or South Nations sends water advisories, the river advisories, just continue to send them out, or is there another method that council would prefer that I take to get that communication or that information to you?
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
No, I think that's all you really can do, is just forward off the information at this point, because the challenge, especially with the CA stuff, is that there's not a whole lot of information to circulate. And I think there's, so I'm on the fence a little bit, because around the board table, because most of us are also municipal councillors, we're all trying to figure out what's the impact going to be for our municipalities. And there's a place for speculation, but it is still just that, speculation, because each of the CAs, although they have worked very well together in collaboration, they do operate differently. Their budgets are different, and how that's going to play out, we won't know until probably at least a year from now, I'm guessing. So that would be my advice, is just continue to forward information. If I can just say, from my perspective, when I'm sitting on the board, if I start to hear things that I think we might want to at least keep an ear to the ground on, I'll try to bring it up either one-on-one or to the council table. Like I say, I think from our perspective, it's going to be very interesting to see how our what's it, not tariff, but our levy plays out, because I think SNC has a higher levy than most of the others. So from my perspective, if this starts to balance out, we may have a lower levy, I don't know, for North Stormont. But then I also think about things like the water assets and things like that, and how that plays out. But like I say, I fear going down that path, because it's pure speculation at this point. So maybe when we get to a point, I'll do my best to try to bring up to you when I think we're hitting a point where it might be worth us digging in, for the sake of North Stormont, into the detail a bit. But that's helpful.
Go ahead, Mr. CEO.
Thank you. I will lean on the two experts at the on council to just flag it when something further is required. So thank you.
Thank you. So any other correspondence needing our attention? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting our correspondence? Motion's carried. Moving to the motion so scheduled of our next meeting, which will take place June 23rd, 2026, again at 6 p.m. Coming events. So again, the webpage are there. The pools, I'm sure, are in full swing for their registration for the summer programs. I did not see, so I'm not sure. Canada Day is events for different. Do we have messaging from that, Mr. Director?
Through the chair, unfortunately, no, because nobody's submitting the information to the township. So even on those pages, I have to go on their Facebook page and try to figure out which events they're doing. So if they don't want to supply us their event to advertise them, it's kind of hard to know what's going on. So we did send another email to say that to Tara and myself to submit your events so we can post them, and it's a hard sell. So this is what I gathered on the coming events, and it was, if you look on Avonmore Facebook page or Moose Creek, there's nothing about Canada Day. So unfortunately, it's the way it is.
So again, I thought we made some big strides last year in regards to fireworks and some of the rules and regulation that applies to that. I think everything was so hopefully if and when and what will determine, but for whatever events, like I say, check through your local communities, and I always say to support what's going on, but it's nice if we would have a better handle on the activities that are taking place.
Well, through the chair, that Canada Day is going on. We did a request for fireworks permits and all that, so that's going on. But as far as schedules, what's going on that day at each facility, to this day, we have no idea.
Mr. Cieo.
And through you, Mayor, I appreciate the work that our Director of Recreation Parks and Facilities has done to try and make those connections. And our ED-CEO, Tara Kirkpatrick, is also monitoring. So they will eventually get posted on our Facebook page, and will come out in that kind of week at a glance that she's been putting out. The challenge is it may be a week before or a week and a half before. So, but we'll continue trying to get the buy-in, so we get some advance notification of those events. But we are working with volunteers that are working other jobs, and so it does take time. And those pieces, they're just coming together now. So hopefully we'll have something more concrete maybe for the next council meeting.
And as Deputy Mayor Dencham alluded earlier, I think looking at Tara coming on board, we're seeing this positive messaging. So that's dealing with our communication. So, and I think hopefully it will we get some wind in our sails and get something out there, because it's very positive from what I've seen is nice messaging that we see all across the municipality. So go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, it's tough with volunteers, especially given the fact that the volunteer base is dwindling. So the people who are still there are carrying a much heavier load than they may have traditionally. So I really want to be careful that we're not coming down hard on the volunteers that are there, because those are the diehards, right? But it is tough to push a chain, and my hope is that with, like I say, I see what looks like a very big impact in how we're communicating. So my hope is that they'll want to jump onto the bandwagon of that. I don't want to be banging on them all the time saying, get your stuff in, get your stuff in. I think it'll just end up turning them off. But if they see it as an avenue where their activities are getting promoted alongside some really positive communications that are going out, I think people will want to take that up. So again, it's a tough game. Thank you for all that you're doing, but I get it.
And again, it's more, I'm just using this avenue as more about promoting and helping, just to, so understanding everybody's got busy lives, and it is volunteer based. So no, it's at the end of the day, let's all work together for the common good of our community. So with that said, we are looking at ratification. Mr. Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Shane, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Be it resolved that bylaw number 37-2026, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify council's actions at its regular meeting of council, be read and passed in open council this 9th day of June, 2026.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion is carried. And our adjournment, please.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dencham. Be it resolved that this regular meeting adjourn at 6:49 p.m.
Thank you. Anybody want to carry this on? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. So thank you very much, staff, council, and anybody looking on. Have yourself a great night. Thank you.